I'm going to be showing you why you're probably not getting any leads from LinkedIn, right? So why should you listen to me? Hi, my name is Favor, and I'm the business partner at Converti Agency. Why this bothers us is the fact that when we started out at first, we had this issue. Like, we fell into the whole trap of that we should post content and then we're going to get sales, we're going to get leads, we're going to get book meetings. But I'm not saying that won't work, but that would work if you're someone like Justin Welsh. If you have like 200,000 followers, if you have like 100K following, it's possible you post and then you get traction and then you have people reaching out to you. But if you're starting at first, you're just like anywhere below 100K following, that's not easy, because then you've not gotten that much attention in the market, so people barely know you. You're still building that traction and attention for yourself, and so your type of marketing is going to be different from what Justin Welsh is doing. And that's it right here. That's the little thing we had to tweak from a strategy altogether that really got us to the point where we could book meetings from LinkedIn. So currently at this point, we book consistently 10 meetings from LinkedIn. Like, that's the average point, but there are months where it just gets higher. So that's why, because we know we were at that place, we felt like, yeah, we should make a video about this, because we could understand what it is like being in that place where you're not getting any leads, and probably you have employees to pay, you have other personal things interfering, and that's just not a good place. So in this video, I'll be showing you probably why you're not getting any leads from LinkedIn. And so LinkedIn is like, people say personal branding. I know LinkedIn is like a personal page where you get to post your content and create your stuff, right? It's a place for creators. It's a platform for creators. But to get leads from LinkedIn, you need to think of LinkedIn slightly differently. I'm not saying you should change that whole fact, but you need to think of it slightly differently, because getting leads to a place, or getting leads to your business, is literally like a funnel. And that's why I brought on this triangle here, because this literally represents what a funnel is. Because a funnel starts with something at the top, which takes them down, like which takes the people it's getting down towards, like it takes all the people it's getting at the top downwards towards where it leads to a result, right? Oh my god, sorry, I'm not that good at drawing. So yeah, a funnel is something that starts here, having the top, which gets people in, to the bottom, which your result could be probably booked meetings. Yeah, because for us the result is booked meetings. So I'm going to explain how you should be treating LinkedIn right now for you to be getting results. Okay, so the funnel, you'd have to treat LinkedIn like a funnel, and a funnel starts with at the top. Start with a place where you have to get attention. You need to get attention, because this is a funnel, like you're trying to bring people in. So you need to start with a place that this top funnel is getting people's attention in. Attention is the first part. When they notice you, at least they've seen you, that's the first part. You get attention. And then the second part would be to nurture. To nurture this attention you're getting, right? And when you've been able to nurture this, the next part would be to convert. So all of this all follows a system. First off, you need to get attention into the funnel, and after getting people, like literally getting people to notice you and start following you and noticing your content, the next part, not just your content but noticing you, the next part would be to nurture them, and after nurturing them, it would be to convert. So this is like the three-way circle of how to get leads in LinkedIn, and I'm going to be explaining all this in a second. Let me get rid of these in a second. All right, so now let's take the attention, for example, because I'm going to be sharing how we get attention, how we nurture, and how we convert. And so right now, let's take attention here, for example. Attention also has a system, right? To get people at the funnel, to get people into the funnel rather. It follows a process, right? You can only get attention. Why am I drawing? I keep drawing this so bad. So to get attention to your profile, it follows your attention. You could get attention into your funnel two ways, either through content and through the DMs. And so the best thing to do is to marry the both. Is to marry the both of them. So because I find out people try to get attention because they try to get attention with only content, and that's hurting you, right? Because the market is so big, and you're still trying to grow yours right here, and then when you put out content in there, you fall into like a deep sea and stuff. So that's why it's good to leverage this to grow on LinkedIn, to get attention into your funnel. And so the way you get attention is through content and DMs. And I'll take DMs in the content here, for example, right? Sorry, let me try to draw that better. So you take, sorry, I'm so terrible at drawing. So you take content here, for example. Content, I don't know if people know this, but content, I see a lot of people treating content very wrongly. So content, mostly when you're trying to get leads into your business, content is traffic to your profile. When you put out content out there, the metrics, like the right metrics you're supposed to track is the profile views. How are people out there reacting to this content? Are they coming back to see, who posted it, what do you do, or something? That's the right metric. And I think Jasmine League said something about this, because people try to focus on the other metrics, and I'm not here to say that the other metrics like likes and followings are not good metrics to track. Like, if you have leads down here, if you have the right people liking your content, you have the right people following you, then you could get them in through the DMs rather. That's where I wanted to go to. Sorry, this is messy. So you could get, if you get likes and followings that are from the right people, the only way you could nurture them into like booked meetings and the result you want is through the DM here. But when you create content, the right metrics to track for your content and see if it's working, if it's speaking to the right people, is profile views. And that's why it becomes very important to optimize your profile, because yes, that's the first problem. That's the first problem that you should check. Why you aren't getting leads and LinkedIn, you should probably check your profile, because that's the first point. You need to have an optimized profile. And I'm going to run through what an optimized profile is like. An optimized profile is the fact that you have your banner here. Which it's clearly written, your value to the market is clearly written, because I've noticed, when I read through people banners and headlines, I noticed what they try to do is to be clever. They're like your belt for SEO, like they try to use all this fancy words, but that's not what get results. What get results on LinkedIn is not about being clever, it's about being clear. So let's say, for example, let's say you're a marketing agency or you own a marketing agency. So for your banner or your headline, because your headline too is very important. When you search things on LinkedIn and it brings you results, that is SEO right there. That's SEO at play. So when you write your headline, you need to be very careful, because depending on what you write, that's going to show. It's going to tell where you're going to appear on. That's what it's going to show. If people search on something, are you going to appear? And that's why we try to say that your headline is also very important, right? Very important, because that's going to rank you. It's either going to rank you for what you do or something else, or you don't even get to rank. So let's say, for example, you're a marketing agency. So you're a marketing agency and you help people to grow their revenue through ads. So your headline could be something like let's say helping you add $1 million to your revenue without growing your headcount, right? So then if people are trying to sage things like how to increase revenue, how to, you rank, right? Anything about revenue and like without increasing your headcount, you're going to rank. Because, and that's what you need to base your, that was just an example, but what I'm trying to say is that you need to base your headline, because your headline here is going to be the same thing, like kind of the value proposition you're going to have here written on your banner. So you need to base your headline on the value you bring to the market, because let's be very honest, people really care about themselves. And if you come here talking about yourself, just content here is like 80-20. Mostly if you're here to grow your business, it's 80-20. So 80% you're here to generate leads into your business, so you're going to create valuable stuff, and 20% you could use it to be authentic, to build your personal brand. And so that's why I'm like, your headline here, it needs to be very value driven. And when I say value driven, it's like it needs to serve the people you're here for. So that's why I say people try to be clever, because you're not here for, mostly when you're trying to get leads into your business, you're not here for yourself. You're literally here to serve the people, and you need to be valuable. You need to talk to them in their language. You need to communicate with them with what they understand, the pain they're going through. That's when they really actually stop the scroll and take a look at you. So number one, to get the headline right, you need to speak to the people you're here for. You're here to serve, and literally talk about their pain, and you're going to not just rank, but you're going to stop the scroll. And so that's the same thing here. When you've got your headline, written well, you could put that too into your banner, communicate that same value here, right? So that when you're creating content right here, let me use a different color. So when you're creating the content around here, you get traffic into your profile here, right? You get traffic into your profile. And when you've got a well-optimized profile, you're going to convert that traffic. So I was trying to explain what a well-optimized profile is like. So you have your banner and your headline well written, which clearly shows your value proposition in the market and why they should even listen to you at first. And after that, this is the first step of optimizing your profile, to get your banner and your headline right. After that, we have the about section, right? The about section right there needs to deliver value to the people you're here for. So for the about page section, you're going to start with talking about the problem. You talk about their problem. You agitate, and you present the solution. So pass. Let me get to explain it in a second. When you create content right here, this content will get you to, that content is traffic. It's traffic, right, to your profile. And this is like, it needs to be optimized. And the first optimization starts with your banner and your headline here. So they clearly know what you have to, very boldly, they know off a second, oh, this is the guy for art. This is the guy for scaling. So they know clearly what you're here for, what you represent here, who you're here for. And then, when they get to see that first, they literally scroll down. And so you have the about page next. And the about page too needs to be value driven. You talk about their problem. You just talk about what the circle they're into right now at the moment. You talk about that problem. You notice when you get to tell people what they actually think about and the problem they're worried about, they listen to you more. That's why when you go to the doctor, you literally pay attention and you're very careful with the information they provide you, because why? They're talking about you. The doctor is not telling you how he was sick and then he healed himself. He doesn't talk to you about how he went to school, he acquired a doctorate degree and all of that. He doesn't talk about all of that. He starts with your problem. How's your head? How are you feeling in your head? How's your neck? So that's why you lean more, you talk the more, because it's like he's talking about you. He's talking about what you're going through at the moment. And so that's why when you write in your about section, you should talk about the problem. that should be what you should start with, because that is going to get them to listen at first, because you're calling them out. And then when you talk about the problem, you agitate it. You'd be like, all right, so you are not scaling your company, and you're agitated by, like, you probably got employees that you've got to pay. You've probably got good talent wanting to leave. You've probably got the business itself, like, you just agitated and talk about what's the circumstance that's happening because of that. So you could even say, you could even include personal stuff. You include personal stories of you agitating with personal stuff, like, because of that now your family is thinking you should quit your the company and probably have a job. So you also have to link these things up to, because we are human. We're not just driven by business and entrepreneurship. We have personal life, all of us. So you talk about the problem, then you agitate it right here, and then boom, over here is where you provide the solution. Because I notice people do these things too in content. They call out problems, they talk deep about it, they agitate it, and then they just leave it there. People are going to click off. Someone like me, I'm going to click off, because that wasn't valuable to me. You just called me out, you just told me what I'm going through, but you didn't give me the dose. You didn't give me what could make me heal. Right? And that's why it's very important that when you're doing this thing, you need to talk about the problem, agitate it, but then you need to provide solution. You need to give them the dose of what they could do to get better. Like now for the marketing agency, they'll be like, after agitating, so they'll be like, so the best thing to do rather is to like run ads. So that's you talking about what they could do better. Run ads with this type of system, with this type of this, and then they talk about the fact that okay, this is something we've been doing and we've been able to get this result, because also you need to add results, because people listen a lot. There's everybody giving advice everywhere, right? But once you hear that, man, that's a billionaire, that's when you listen. That's when you listen, right? So you need to show what you've done before people can listen to you. So when you talk about the problem, you agitate it, then you provide solution, and they talk about the beta way or the other way around and what they're supposed to be doing, and then you talk about the results you've done, and you talk about, all right, if this is something you want to do, you could DM this, or you talk about where you want to lead them into, right? Because you remember that content right here is traffic to your profile. Please don't forget that, because I notice people get that wrong a lot. When you create content, those great content you're creating, that's traffic into your profile, and so that's why you need to optimize your profile. And then we just finished covering the about section. After the about section, we have a section like the featured section. Oh my god, I'm scared of drawing right now, because all right, so you have the featured section right there. The featured section is more like, when you have people coming into your profile, most of them don't have the patience or don't want to read the about section, right? And that's why when they're just scrolling, they're just looking for what could grab their attention. That's why you need to optimize everywhere. You need to optimize in every section in case the attention goes to a particular place. And so that's why it's important to have your about section optimized too. But then the featured section is where we notice they mostly click to, because when someone's scrolling on the profile, you go to what's most attractive at the moment, and it's literally people link things at the featured section, and that's what gets people attention before they go down to the content, right? And so it's important that I want you to understand these. I'm about to explain how you could optimize too for the featured section. So I see people treat the featured section as something you could just link a post that did so well, that had massive attention, or something exciting you want to share, right? But that too is also a way to grab the attention you're getting from here. So I need you to understand that out of the 100% of people that are clicking into your profile, and then there's the 3% of the market, and there's the 97% here of the market. And so your featured section, because we've noticed this is the place people literally click to when they come to your profile. First off, they look at your banner, they look at your headline. You know, the about section is always like a text. It's like always reading something, and people don't like spending time to read. They just like scrolling. And so when they scroll, some of them read the about section, because we've had clients that have said that, oh, you know, we had a lead from the about section. So some of them, but very few percent, some of them read the about section, but most often they fall into this place. They're always more often reading from the feature section, because it's always like a place that gets their attention. And so I needed to understand that in the featured section, there's the 97% of the market, and there's a 3% of the market. So 97, in case you don't know, the 97% of the market are those people that are not ready to buy now. They're just in for information. They just want to obsess about the information. They just want to, they enjoy your content. They just want to get to know you more, right? And so that's the 97. They'll probably buy in the future, but not now. Right now, they're just learning. They're just getting to know. So that's the 97%. 97% of people just want more information and just want to know you more, and just want you to communicate this value more, and tell them that the place where they are is literally a bad place before they can take action, right? These people are most of the people that need you to help them decide. They can't decide for themselves, right? They need you to help them decide. So the way you help them decide here is by nurturing them, which we're going to get into. And why the 3% here are the people that are going to buy like right now. Probably they've seen your content. They've seen your content in the past and just like, oh, I've been seeing this guy's content. Let me just click to read stuff. I just hope my drawings here is not disturbing your eyes or something, but because you're looking at it, it's not nice. Yeah, but forgive me, right? So, so the 3% here are people that they want to buy now. Probably they've been looking at your profile. They've been they know you for a while or something. Or even if they've not been looking at your profile and stuff, this is something that they already know of. They're just looking for the right person to buy from. They want to buy now. That's just it. So the 3% of the market, they want to buy now. 97% of the market, they're going to buy later. They're just here for information, and they want you to help them decide. And so in the featured section, you need to optimize your featured section for these two types of people, or these two types of buyers. So for the 97%, because that's the huge market share right there. So for the 97% of the market, what you have to do here is that over to these people, right? The only way you can nurture the 97% of the market is through emails, because you need a system that you have them as assets into your business, like they're into your funnel. So you just have to nurture them to, they get to decide, and you got to educate them, because you also need to educate them until they get to decide. So for 97% of the market, you need to create something that will lead you into getting their emails, because that's the best place to nurture them. So, and for that means you have two things on your featured section, one for the 97% of the market and one for the 3% of the market. So for the 97% of the market, you could have a lead magnet, right? That's the best way to get their email. You could have or for people that do newsletters, you could have your newsletter there. So, and I see people trying, some people try, although they don't get to understand, but some people try to create documents or value for the 97% of the market, but when they present it, the presentation is what kills the conversion of that. Because like someone that has a newsletter, they'll be like, check my newsletter here. That will not make me check it. Like, why do I care about checking your newsletter? And let's be very honest, so that's why it's important when you're writing out these things and you're creating these things, you need to always talk to them, always speak in their language. So don't say something like, check my newsletter, or we have a landing page here, you just say something like, I created check this ad stuff. And you need to say uh, like let's say for the army guy right now, you could write something, you could sell because if there's someone that you work one-to-one with them, you could sell them the education and information and how to do it and how you do it, but you could give them that for free rather, and you sell them the implementation. So for the marketing agency, they could have something like what's the sharp word I could use there? Use these 10 strategies to scale your business to 100K in 30 days. That could be like the headline of the lead magnet right here. So you're not saying check out my newsletter or check out this or that. You need to still base it on value. It needs to still be very, very value driven, and it needs to talk to the people you're here to serve. So that's the way you can get them. You create that side of it. This 97 for the 97% of the people, you create that for them, because that will get their attention. They're here for information, so they're hungry. So to get these, and you create a system that they get to give you their emails, and then they get this value here, this value that they want. So all you have to do is to create a lead magnet that you think would be very valuable. And I noticed something. People try to create free stuff like, oh, it's free. So you need to, because the thing about making free stuff like is harder than people think, because free stuff is going to get someone to decide if they're going to buy your paid stuff or not. And so when I see people try to create free stuff, and they're creating it like, oh, it's free, so I'm just giving you. You need to create it like the paid for it, right? Because that's going to get the person that is using that free stuff to decide if they're going to buy it or not. Have you heard reviews like, oh, I tried this free thing and I decided to buy the paid one? That's what it is. When you send out free stuff to people, you're making them judge you, because when they look at the free stuff, they're like, if it's like this, that means that's how the paid program is literally like. So you need to create it like you're creating something that someone paid for. And that's what's very important about creating the lead magnet. You need to take your time and create it very well. But you need to create something that is actually very value driven, and is very, very good. It needs to be good as if they paid for it, because that's going to decide if they're going to pay for or work with you. So it's important to do that to your lead magnet. And also the title of when you're going to be setting it up for your featured section, the title should be very, very value driven here, and it should serve the people you're here for too. And that's it for the 97% of the market. And then when you get their emails, you get to nurture them with emails until they get to buy. You run campaigns talking about what you're doing this month or not. And that's it for the 97% of the market right here. Now for the 3% that are ready to buy now, this 3% right here, that they're ready to buy right now. So what you're going to do for the 3% here is that you also create a system that get them to work with you immediately. Now for the 3%, right? For the 3% of the market, you're going to have because for this one it was like a nurturing process that get them to you give them value, and then you get their emails so you could nurture them. But for the 3%, you're going to treat it very differently. This is what you're also going to link on your featured section. You're going to have the link or the value for the 97% of the market, and you're going to have the value for the 3% of the market. So for the 3% of the market, you're literally going to create a landing page. You're going to create a landing page for them where they get to click on it. The headline for this very link here could be work with me, or no, work with me. It's not, excuse me, it's not value driven. You could say something like, click here to learn how you could increase your revenue to $1 million in the period of time without increasing your head count. So it has to be still value driven and stuff, or yeah, it has to be value driven. So that could be the headline for this, and then inside that landing page you have your big value proposition here as the headline, right? You have your big value proposition here as a headline. Then you have a video, because VSL tends to work a lot with, with the clients we've been working with. We have a lot of people that, VSL is what works. I know it's somehow to get on camera, and this is what we try to coach our clients with, somehow to get on camera, to get seen, mostly if you haven't done it before. But you need to have your headline. You need to have your headline. That, I think I would have rather written your value proposition to value prop to the market, and that's what your headline should have at first. Your value prop here, and then, sorry, this is a bit messy, you have your VSL right here. Your VSL, your video sales later. That video is going to be you talking to them about what you do, and that video is going to include social proof. You need to talk about the results so far a lot. So that video is going to talk a lot about what you do and how you help your clients scale, and you share proof. And at the end of that, you're going to have a CTA at the bottom of the landing page. So click here to work with me, click here to schedule a meeting, or click here to this link, and that. So that's how you're going to save the 3%. They're ready to buy, so they just click on the link. They're seeing the process of how to buy. If it's even possible, you could have like a credit card here, and so they just so because they're very hot. The thing about leads is that when they're hot in their feeling, like they're hot, it's like a red zone, they're ready to buy. That's where you grab them. You don't waste time. That's where you grab them, because they're hot, their emotions is high at that time. And so you could come back the next 3 days and like, for people that attend to people very late, you could come back in the next 3 days and they're not interested again. If they've shifted, like probably something happened, something else happened, and then they shift to the 97% of the market. And that's why when you see these people, you're supposed to direct them very fast. You're supposed to get them. You don't have to waste time. You just have to direct them very fast. And yeah. So, but one thing I'm going to add for the 3% of the market is because you're going to, for the 3% of the market, you could get a lot of people. If your CTA is book a meeting with me, right, immediately, you might tend to have a lot of unqualified leads, because then you didn't have this section that you got to know what their goals are, if they could pay, if like all those qualifying questions, if they're a good fit for you, and if your services are a good fit for them. And so what I would say in the landing page that we've helped our clients tweak is that, when you have your headline written, you have the VSL here, the video ready, and then you have your CTA rather here, right? The best thing to do is not to make a CTA like book a meeting with me. The CTA should be like a Google form or something that a form that they need to fill. That form is going to have a couple of questions. Alright. So fill the form, and then if they tick the boxes, you kind of link something that get them to book a meeting with you. And so that's just it right here. I was just trying to say, because if you keep your calendar so open that anyone could just immediately book a call with you, you're going to have a lot of unqualified leads coming in, and you don't want to be wasting time on meetings with unqualified people. So for the 3% of the market, when you create this whole landing page, your CTA shouldn't be, because that's one thing we get to see a lot of creators here and business owners doing. That's the wrong thing, having a calendar link or a calendar on your profile, or so anyone could book, is a wrong way to get calls, because you don't even know if they're qualified. If they're not, you need to know if they're qualified, if this is a good fit, so you're not wasting each other's time. So, and that's why in the landing page here, it's very important and good to have a form that you have questions on it, and they get to fill it. Like a Google form can work. So you send them, that would be the CTA. They come here, they fill up the form, and then boom, if they're a good fit, they hop on a call with you. You have your booked meetings right here. And so, all I was trying to cover right here, all I was trying to, oh my god, this is not sorry, I'm so bad at drawing. So all I was trying to cover right here was this whole content part, right? This whole LinkedIn system is a whole lot, right? And but if you look into it bit by bit, it's actually easy to do. So it was the process of optimizing your profile. The only way to get attention into your funnel is through two systems here on LinkedIn. Is through content and through the DMs. And so that's what led to talking about the fact that your content here is actually pulling in traffic. The content here is pulling in traffic to your profile. It's pulling in traffic to your profile. And that's why we then talked about the metrics to track, which is profile views, right? The most metrics to track is profile views. And so then, when you've got this content brings traffic to your profile. And so that's why it's very, very important to have your profile optimized. And everything we were working through here was how to optimize your profile. So when you get that traffic in, they don't waste away, they don't sleep off you actually grab the traffic. And so we talked about your banner, we talked about your headline, we talked about the about section and how it should be written through the pass formula. That's what we use. And then we talked about the featured section. The featured section contains the 3% of the market, contains the 97% of the market, and how you could get those people at different levels. So we talked about how you could structure each and every one of them. And I'm going to delete everything right here that is on the screen, and we'll talk about the DMs right now, because there are two ways to get attention, which is content and the DMs. So we're going to talk about how you could get attention right now with the DMs. And let me delete everything here. This drawing is crazy. Alright, so I just finished deleting all of that. And yeah, we just finished covering the whole part of the content and the fact that content is traffic to your profile, and that's why it's important to have your profile optimized for the 97% of the market and the 3% of the market. And that's not everything about content. We're going to get into it. We're going to get into other parts of content, but right now we move into the DMs. LinkedIn is a networking platform. That's the nice thing about LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a two-way platform. It's a platform for creators and a networking platform for business. Like LinkedIn is business hub. So, and that's why when you create content as like a creator, you create content, you get traction, and then you convert from your traction. And so then you also use it as a networking platform, a platform you get to meet the right people, the right feed, you get to get leads. And that's also like the way you should think of LinkedIn, as a creator's platform and as a networking platform. So that's it for content. And for the DMs right now, people have this thing about the DMs that they're like, I don't want to sound salesy. Right, let me get to explain what that looks like to me. So we're like, you don't want to sound salesy. Oh my god. Alright. So I need you to understand this. When you go to the doctor and then you talk to the doctor, you're here for the doctor to help you. And then the doctor is not attending to you. And you actually deep in that pain. You're so sick and you're feeling it very deeply. How do you feel when you can't get the doctor's attention? Now I want you to think of it. How do you feel? Like you feel bad that you could not see a doctor, right? And the sickness is getting severe with time. And that's how I want you to see the whole process of LinkedIn, like in the DM part of things. Like people see it like the salesman. I need you to understand something. You're not here to pitch your product. You're not here to sell. And if that's what you do, no, that's not the right way to do it. That's not the right way to communicate with people on LinkedIn, right? It needs to be person to person, not B to B. It needs to be human to human. Your ideal clients have a problem, and this problem is so, like, it's severe. Like, I need you to understand, if you're someone that, let's say you're someone that your family financial planner, or you help create wealth for families, I need you to think of, if they don't have a solution, what's their life like? The fact that their family is suffering, they're going through this and that, there's just a whole lot of things at stake. And so, when you get to view things this way, it just changes your mindset about what talking to people should be like, and how to treat, talking to people, because people just come to the DM and they just pitch me and like, yo, I have this thing, and it's going to change your life. It's like, in the next 30, I'm not going to click to that, because you're not talking to me. You're sending that message to everyone, and it doesn't feel personal to me. Just feel like you're just here for the business. You're just here for the money. And so that's why you need to think of how you handle the DMs, and the DM should be treated like a doctor's relationship. You need to understand the fact that your clients, or the people you want to be clients, your prospect, have a problem that's eating them up, and you're here to save. You're here to help. And that's why you have a solution. It's just like I'm going through something, and you have the dose that can help me heal from that, but you're not giving that to me. You're actually doing me bad. That's something I would like you to understand first off, before we dive deep into this, because when we talk to people in the program, they're like, yes, I want to start doing the DM part of things, but I don't want to sound salesy. No, we're not telling you to sound salesy. We're telling you to serve the people you're here for. We're telling you to be of help. Don't starve someone of the healing. Don't do that. You're here to save. And when you get to treat selling and talking to people that way, it changes everything. It changes the game. It changes the way people react to your messages. It changes the way people actually communicate with you. Actually, let me show you our reply rates right now. In the DMs, there was a screenshot I think we took. Oh my god, can I access it here? Mirror. Oh my god, it's taking time to load. Oh, okay. Actually, try to go home and see how. Oh my god, sorry, I have to. Because it's like, I want to show you that this actually works, and it's what we've actually been using, and what has actually been working for us. So I'll try to get to the mirror bot right here. It's still loading up. Sorry. Oh my god, can't find it here. Okay, sorry. I need to show this, that this actually works. That we get literally like a 75% and a 70 to 75% reply rate from the messages we message people. So I need you to understand that when you actually shift the focus of trying to pitch someone immediately, if you shift it and think like a doctor, like a patient and a doctor relationship, you are going to see like everything is game change. Everything is game change. So it's still loading right now, and I'm gonna show you this. All right. So right here, this is like a screenshot I took us at the time when I was trying to explain something to people, our clients in the program. This is a reply rate right now. And so why do people reply this way to us? It's because of the framework. It's because of the mindset or the prop we kind of think into this. We don't think of, like, we don't pitch. Like, even if we get to talk to people and then we can't help them, fine, we can't help them, and we're just happy at that. That's how it is. Like when you say a doctor's relationship, and you could see because of this, it's led to a lot. We've had tons of booked meetings, like tons of booked meetings, right? Over here. So I felt like I needed to share this so you could understand that this actually works, and the fact that if you are actually serving people and you actually treat this as a relationship of a doctor and a patient, that you're not salesy, you're here to help, right? And I literally spent a whole of that time talking about this because it's very important to explain this to people, because if you don't understand this firsthand and get this right, it won't click up for you. You probably just start pitching people, and you're gonna get people saying a lot of things that are not necessary in the DM because of that. It's important to get this right. And so now we've gotten this whole I don't want to salesy part right. That sets the framework now of how you should be treating LinkedIn and the DM. So people try to, treat the DM as something external from the content part of things, but it is not. Like I said, these two are jointed. They're jointed here. They're jointed, and they work together. To pull this in, to pull the traffic in. So the way you get to get people's attention, through the DM, is by actually caring about them, not about you. Because when you pitch, you care about yourself. You're here to make your sales quota. You're here to make sales. But if you turn the table around and you care about the prospect, you care about the client, what you just get to do is that you're serving now. You're helping. You just shift everything. And so the way to treat it is to actually serve, not sell. That's the number one principle here. We get to teach, our members in the program that selling you on LinkedIn. That's why I was trying to explain all of that I was trying to explain, because selling on LinkedIn or getting booked meetings on LinkedIn or getting leads on LinkedIn is not about selling, but it's about serving. And so how do you serve? You serve by talking about them. So the first message, people could just send, the first message that they get to send to a lead when they see them is like, hey, I see you do this thing, oh, I do this thing, and they just start talking about themselves. No, the first message you could send to someone could probably be something like, hey, I read your content, this was actually, you talk about something that got your attention in the content, and then you lead into being in the DMs it's literally about being curious. Yeah, let me explain this first. Is having this childlike curiosity. And that's why when you go to the doctor is always curious. You don't go to the doctor and immediately you say something like, oh, I have a head pain right now, and he's like, come, let me give you an injection. Take this dose. No, he doesn't do that. When you come to the doctor, it's more like, I have a head pain. Or is it in front here? Is it at the side? Is it at the back? Or how do you feel when you work? Or he's asking you, that's a childlike curiosity, because he doesn't just want to spill up anything and just give it to you. He's trying to be careful, and he cares about you and your health, about you dying or not. And so that's why it's also very important that when you talk in the DM, you need to be very curious. You need to be have like this childlike curiosity. And that has to do with the fact that you're going to talk about them, and then you ask curious questions. Like you ask questions that will get them to open more and tell you more about what they're going through and what everything is like in general, their goals and everything. So the main essence here of getting to know if someone is a lead right here, and if people could work together and trying to get their attention, is by first you get to understand their goal, you get to understand their struggles, and you get to know if this is something they need right now, their need of it, deep need of it, if it's something that's really biting them, and you get to know if now is the right time for them, right? So the way I would get to write this better would be BANT, right? That's the shortcut for this. Not this, not GSNT, but I was trying to explain this in but the other way is BANT, which is like B for the budget, A for authority, N for need, T for time. So the questions you're going to ask them here to know if this is actually the right fit for them and something that would be very valuable to them is the fact that you need to ask them questions that guides to if their need of it, the goals here at first, because I wrote this in the structure you should follow it from. This is the way you're going to get it. You get to find out their goals first. What is their main drive? What do they want to achieve in the next 3 months? What do they want to achieve in the next 1 year, right? And that is need right here in this other formula, right? And so you get to understand what their goal is, then you dive deeper into the struggle, and if this is something that is so big in need, if it's actually costing a lot and they need it like now, and so that's just the process I'm going to run you through in the DM. So I was trying to get the fact clear that you need to kind of think of the DM like a doctor and like a child, because the child's always asking questions, right? So it could be like, hey, I saw your content here, and it needs to always be about them. What you're talking about needs to be about them. So that's how you get to know your goal. Then you get to understand like other metrics. This is how you talk to people in the DMs, that you get replies, you talk about them, you make sure that you ask like open-ended questions like the doctors, and then you lead them through. It's like a system where you get to lead them through, right? It's like a system where you get to lead them through. Everything is literally like a funnel. Everything is literally like a funnel here too. So you lead them through until the point they're like they talk about something like, yeah, I want to do this, like this is something. They're not going to tell you, oh, I want to work with you, right? They're not going to tell you like, okay, I want to work with you. They're going to be like, oh yeah, this is something I would want to solve. This is something I've been finding really hard to solve. And that's what you suggest. You suggest a meeting. Suggest a meeting right there. So that's what it is like. You ask the right questions, you talk about them. Don't pitch. They're going to stop talking to you. Don't pitch, right? You need to be patient in the DMs, and you need to ask the right questions, because the kind of questions you're asking is going to lead to where the conversation is going to end at, and what's the result of that conversation. And one thing I want to cover too is because I noticed this thing in the process of people not trying to be salesy in the DM, they try to be friends. They're trying to be friends. So I'm not saying you shouldn't be friends, or let me just leave it at this. I'm not saying you shouldn't be friends with someone in the DM, but the only way you can lead it to a result is actually by having this feature of a friend and a sales guy. So people are like, the bad thing people try to do is they're leaning to one side more. Is either they're too salesy or they're too friendly. And so if you lean into one side, you're not going to get any results. And so the only way to get this is to marry the both of these. You got to marry the both of these. I want you to think of this when you try to be friends with someone you're trying to sell with in the DM. So you're trying to be friends with the person, and then after talking about, hey, did you watch that football match? Or did you do this? You like all those friendly chats, and then you're like, oh my god, this chat is not going the way I want to, or you want to talk about your service now. You just, after talking about the movies you guys watch, or something that friends do talk about, then you just come up and be like, hey, I have this product. Would you try it? That's going to destroy that person. Not even just physically or something, but emotionally too. You're hurting the person. And so the person is going to be like, oh, so you became friends with me so you could sell me. That's going to be the worst reputation ever. So that's what we get to tell our clients in the program. It's not about being friendly. That would be very bad. And it's not about being salesy. We've already covered the salesy part. You just start talking to someone and you're pitching everywhere. So the both thing is to marry the both. The both is like you talking about them here as a friend, caring, and then as a sales guy here where you're trying to help, you ask very curious-ended questions to make sure you're not prescribing the wrong drugs for a patient, right? So it's to marry the both of them in the DMs, and then this is the only way you could, this is the only type of conversations that could lead you into booked meetings, right? So first off, you care about them, talk about them in the DMs. Hey, I saw this content of yours. Are you trying to get leads right now on LinkedIn, depending on what you're trying to sell them into? So the goal would be to talk about them all of the time and uncover, keep uncovering like the different layers to this. I'm trying to draw an onions right now. So this is the green spot of the onions right here, where there's the deep pain and stuff, but apart from that spot, like there's different layers to this. And so the goal would be to keep asking questions. Ask questions to the first layer, ask it to the second layer, until you get to the deep problem and they start telling you what it is, the actual stuff they're like that they're going through, and they really want to get this off. And that's where you get to book a call. Like, oh, this is something, because yeah, this is something you've literally been through. So you're like, because you're here to help people, you're here to help your younger self. Right, so you'd be like, oh, you understand what it is to be there. Like, this is something I've literally been through. Do you mind we hop on a call and I show you how you could solve this, right? And then they get to hop on the call. Don't pitch them too. That's the thing, right? When they hop on a call with you, right? On the call, what you should also focus on doing shouldn't be to pitch. What you should do on the call should be that you serve, not sell. I'm going to explain that in a second. You don't know, like, oh, favor. So where do I get to talk about my stuff? Where do I get to talk about what I do and stuff, right? So when you hop on a call with them, don't sell, right? Let me take this with a red. Don't sell. Serve. So how do you save and not sell? The way you save is that you talk, you said, can you hop on a call so I could show you how you could, solve this red problem, this problem here you're into and stuff. And so that call would be to show them how. And then you ask them questions and be like, okay, you ask them more questions and be like, all right, so I noticed this is something that's really bothering you and stuff. Is it like you want to get it off your plate like right now, or is it something like you want to do in the next 6 months or something? And they're like, yeah, I want to get it now. I'm like, yeah, cool. This is what we get to do though. And we've helped. That's where you bring social proof in, because people don't like preachers out there or gurus out there. People like to take decisions, or make decisions rather, from other people like them. So that's where you be like, all right, so after you finish saving, you only ask that question after you finish saving value. You don't just start off the call and you sell them. That's very wrong. You don't start off the call and sell them. after you've saved, then you ask that question. Then when you ask that question, that's where you get to be like, all right, so a client of ours was actually going through that. You actually show the client, because you don't lie. You show the client, and you talk about how you helped. You show other clients. You understand? You show like 3 to 5 other clients, and then you be like, I think from what you're saying, this program might be something that could help you solve this problem. And then you're like, is this something that you think might help you? Do you think like this is something you might want to give a try? And then who's not, like, you're going to have 85% of people saying yes, because all this while you've saved, right from the DMs. You've not pitched them. You're not like 99% of the people to talk to every day, so you've not pitched them. You've actually saved. You've actually been curious. And another thing in the DM is that while you're having these conversations, when they say a couple of things, you can be like, oh, you could tweak this, or you could share a couple of, there's the huge value, which is the one in this call right here, where you get to save the huge value. But while you're having conversations, there's the little value where they're like, okay, I wrote my headline, and or something like, they could say, okay, what do you think about my about page and stuff, and you could show it. That's where you could, that's the little value there, right? Because you have to keep serving them, even right in the DMs is about them. So you're like, okay, about your DM, here's what you could tweak, here's what you could do better. If you have a lead magnet that can actually cover that, or a resource that you've made that could actually cover the question they asked, you could send it to them. That resource shouldn't contain a pitch or something. It should just be there to serve them and stuff, right? So, and that's it. So already in the DMs, what you get to do already here is that even while you're having conversations with them, you're serving too. And so then you keep serving them too. They get to this part where they talk about, you've uncovered everything, you've asked the questions, and they've been able to talk about the real problem. And then you get to save here in the big call. And so who's not gonna say yes most of the time? When you've been with them all this while, you've saved the value, they wanna give it a try. So yeah, and that's literally the process we've been using, to be honest, in the DMs, and that has led us to so much sales right now. So we have like 10 meetings per month, every month, right? And that 10 meetings will literally close anywhere around 5 to 7 of them into the program. So yeah, so that's the green spot, to be honest. That's the green spot. Always save value. This is the point I would like to get across. Number 1, you should always save value. Number 2, always keep the conversation about them. Don't talk about yourself, don't talk about your services. About them, keep it about them. And then be curious. Be curious. That's what we say about it. Be curious. So this is what I can briefly say about the DM. Save value, keep it about them, and be curious. And you need to act like a doctor, right? Let me say number 4 would be, treat it as a relationship of a doctor and a patient. Always treat it this way. Save value, keep the conversations about them, be curious, and treat it as a relationship of a doctor and a patient. And that's what I can say about the DM. And then that's how you get to get attention into the funnel, right? To get them in at the top of the funnel through your content. Then we talked about your content actually brings traffic to your profile, so you need to optimize that. And then we talk about the DMs. And then we talk about the DMs, and I'll quickly run through how the DMs here. I've literally covered the top funnel, the middle funnel, and the bottom funnel for the DMs part of things. And so with the content right now, I'm going to walk you through how you nurture and you convert with the content part of it. I told you I was going to get into the content side later on, so let me get to delete everything that's right here so I could just run through things. And so we were done with the whole attention part, of things, and how you could get attention from LinkedIn, which we talked about, that you could get attention from LinkedIn through the content and the DMs. And so for the DMs part of things, I literally ran through everything, how you could get attention, to nurturing, to converting them into calls. I literally ran through that. And so this whole process is going to be about the content, how you can now nurture with your content and you could convert to with your content, because we also get leads from content, because we follow like a system that definitely brings in leads and other clients in the program. And so after you've gotten attention with, to get attention with content, is that you need to follow, people talk about being authentic and only posting like your personal stories and stuff. That is good because you're also building your personal brand. But that system, the whole content game, is an 80-20 rule, and that's what we treat it as. That's what we treat it as here. So it's an 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, mostly when you have a business, you want to be communicating value. You want to be talking about the people you're here for. And then 20% of the time, yes, you could build your personal brand. You could talk about your stuff, personal stories that you like to share in your personal page. And so 80% of the time, you need to start, the contents that we've noticed that get traction, because we've had contents that have done 30,000 impressions. Let me show you. I'm someone that I like showing. I don't just like preaching, because there's a lot of people that just say things on LinkedIn, and few people are actually doing the stuff. They're just giving you advice. So let me show you. We have it's not like 100K, a million, or what people say, but we've had content, and that's the nice thing, that content literally brought us leads, brought us like, I think 4 leads from that very content. So let me show you the content. Good versus bad designs. So this is the content right here. It's still loading. Sorry. Alright. This post hits 30,000. It did 30,000 right here. So we've had a post that like did 30,000, and we've had another one. There's one here at the very bottom. That one was more of a lead magnet. Like, it was meant to get us leads. That's why we created that content. So I'm going to show you that one too. That one didn't lead to so much impressions like the other one here. This one, how I book 10 meetings per month from LinkedIn through content plus design. So this actually got us this one got us the highest. What is it? This one got us the highest number of leads. This one got us I think it was 8 leads. So it's around 8 leads right here we go. But that's one content that got us leads. Content here on LinkedIn is divided into 2. There's the 80 for business, kind of like, mostly if you're here on LinkedIn to grow your business and generate leads, you're going to have to create content 80% of the time to serve the people you're here to serve, and 20% of the time to build your personal brand and share your personal stories. And so let me get into it, and let me explain the kind of content flywheel and framework you'd use to already have talked about. I think I'm going to go all through into content and how you could grab attention, because what we shared in the last videos was the first one was about optimizing your profile. So because to get attention is through content and DMs, and I was trying to explain from the front end that content gets you traffic into your profile, and that's why we went through the whole format of optimizing the profile. And then we talked about the DM, how you could get attention on LinkedIn also through the DM, and how you could handle your DMs and lead it to the result which you wanted. And so right now, we didn't deeply talk about content. I was just trying to explain the fact that content is traffic, because people don't understand this a lot. And so I was trying to explain the fact that content is traffic to your profile. And so now I'm going to be explaining how we handle content here that gets us leads and results to book meetings at the end of the month. So that's what I'll go through right now. I'll explain how you could get attention with content, how you could nurture with content, and you could convert. The nice thing about this way of getting attention on LinkedIn is that some people do just DM people and get leads. I'm not gonna lie. There are people that do just DM people and get leads, and there are people that create content. That's if you have so much attention and traction into your profile. Like if you're doing 100k, or if you have like let me say if you have an average of 100k, 50k impressions on average, you could build a system that you don't have to do the DMs and get sales. You could just do content and get sales. But if you're below that, you have less attention into your profile, so you need to create that. And that's why there's a lot we're going to talk about, because the content part of thing also support the DMs. The people that just DM people to get leads, they'll find it way hard than people that are creating content to get leads. And that's why we always say every time, you should create content. Don't stop creating content, because imagine you came into a profile. Let me take this off for a second. Imagine you came into a profile that is just nothing on it, seriously. You came into the profile, probably one funny kind of profile picture, no banner, no nothing, no content, and the person is talking to you. You feel like that person is a fraud, a scam. But if you meet someone with so much content, then the profile is being optimized. You're like, yo, this person is serious. This person is serious here, and you take the person seriously. And that's why all these things I try to explain, like they come in together and all these things lead to one result, which is getting leads on LinkedIn. And so to get leads, I needed to explain the fact that content is first off traffic to your profile, and that's why you need to optimize your profile. And so after that, you have the DMs, where you could message people, right? Because you're getting less attention. When you start getting attention and people start noticing you, you need to start converting that with the DMs. So at this level right now, if you haven't gotten to 100k followings and stuff, this is the system that you can follow, right? But if you're at 100k, you could get a different system. So even if it's 100k, all this works. And so let's get into it, how you could get attention with content and how you could nurture and convert content. So I need you to understand that content itself is also a funnel, and there is a different type of content that gets attention into your profile. There's a different type of content that nurtures the attention you got into your profile, and there's a different type of content that converts the attention you're nurturing into leads or whatever result you want it to be. And so let's take this for example now. I'm trying to draw a funnel for each of them. And let's say the end goal of this type of content is to get attention, while the end goal of this other type of content is to nurture, right? Because the goal of creating funnel is the fact that why a funnel is being drawn this way is because it leads to a result. It starts with something very large and comes down to a result. And so that's why I'm adding this at the end here. So the end goal of this funnel is to get attention with content, and the end goal of this funnel is to nurture the attention that you got from this place. And then the end goal of this one is to convert, right? I think I should draw this with a red pen. The end goal of this one is to convert, right? And then I'll take a red pen for here. So you're to nurture the attention you've gotten from here, and then get to convert the attention you're nurturing from here. So it follows that way. And so there are different contents at this level. For the content that gets attention, I don't know if you've noticed like transformational content here on LinkedIn where someone is like 2022 I was this, and 2025 I'm this. So someone could say something like I was at $0 at 2022, now I've made $1 million in 2025 off of my business or something. Right, but that's what it is like getting attention. You need to make big and bold statements. Yes, that's the way you get attention into your profile. Number one, those type of content that get attention, make bold statements. Bold, literally always big. So I'll add the big and or bold and big statements. Because it's like, it's not statements you randomly see on your feed. So it's something like that. It's like, if you notice, it's going to be something like, how did you do that? You want to see more. So that's how it is like. But I think the problem people make with those type of content is that they try to be everywhere about it. So I wouldn't say you should say it like everyone and like say how I went from $0 to $1 million in 1 year. That's very generic, and that, you know, the essence of creating 80% of content for your ICP is to get the attention, because people try to get attention but not a niched attention. Because what we try to optimize for ourselves and for our clients is the fact that the attention you're getting is right for your business. You want to get the right people to see your stuff, and that's the way you stand out. That's the way you stand out from 99% of people that are just pulling up things to get attention here. So instead of just boldly saying how I went from $0 to $1 million in 1 year, the goal would be for you to make a very niched statement. So you could rather say something like how I took a client, or you could, because it's good to mention the names if the clients permit, right? Because people are more drawn to names, and instead of you saying hi I took someone, you could say hi I took Doris from how I took, let me say for example, the marketing agency. How I took Doris from 20K, from making 20K from a landing page, like a marketing agency that literally run ads, to a landing page. How I took Doris from making 30K on her landing page to 200K or to $1 million or whatever. So sorry about this, like I was recording this and I didn't know that this other part had gone out of the video. So this other part, I wasn't recording this other part, like it had already stopped the software I was using to record this. So I have to just go back and take this part again, because the next video after this is is different, it's already forward. So I have to record this whole part, and yeah, let me get into it. So in the last video that was being recorded, the last video was talking about how talking about this very part here, the attention part, how the marketing agency would create a transformation post to get attention. And then we covered that, and the next part that we were to talk about was like the nurturing content. So this other nurturing content, you notice authority kind of content focuses more on transformation, like we said here, big and bold statements. But the thing about this one is that it educates. That's the essence of this other content here. It educates. That's why this kind of content is going to really be about how I did this. So you could say something like let me think of a nurturing content right now for the marketing agency. How I write copies that generate so much this amount of money. how I do the creative for an e-commerce marketing company, or it's just a tutorial, like kind of a tutorial content, right? This one, and I drew something. Sorry, let's get back to the screen. And so I included this in that video that let's pick my pen to. So you know how they say something is like 80-20. So I divided this, is like 80% here, but we'll divide it into 10, right? 80, 10, 10. So 80% of the time, like 10% of the time, what you do is you grab attention, right? 10% of the time you grab attention. That's what you do, like 10% of the time. And then 80% of the time you nurture. You nurture 80% of the time. And 10% of the time, which we'll get to later, you convert. You convert, like from the audience or the traffic you've been nurturing over time. They've known you, they trust you now, you convert from them. The percent that are ready to buy right now. I needed to get the idea, and I needed to get this understanding, because 80% of the time, you want to be known as the niche guy. The niche guy in the space. Like, you want, when someone is thinking, okay, I have an issue with my ad right now, I have an issue with this right now, you just come up like you're top of funnel, you're at the top level. Why? Because you've been educating her, or you've been educating him, like, since, like, and so they're like, if they've gotten so much value from you already, it won't be hard for them to convert here, or for them to reach out to you. So the essence of creating this, and 80% of the time, because the rule of this game is that you give, always give, because that's why I see many people flop, even in their content. Like, they start by asking, they just tip in a little value or none, and then they start asking. No, 80% of content, 80% of the time, like, this relates to not just content, it relates to content, it relates to the DMs. 80% of the time, sorry, you would have to be nurturing, you have to be educating to build your niche. And that's why everybody knows Justin Welsh right now, right? Because he's built his authority in the niche, which is like for solopreneurs, right? To help solopreneurs build like a business that they don't have to work 9 to 5, kind of a business built on system, just that kind of system. So he's built his authority over the years, because he's been putting out those type of content. He's been putting out like value-driven content over. It's just recently now that Justin Welsh is trying to scale more, and if you notice, most of his content these days have like a link below. Let me go to his profile. Most of his content have a link below, and that link, he doesn't put it like he still puts it as something that will nurture you. Even at that level where he's that big, he doesn't come up and like, buy this now or this now. He doesn't sell like 80% of the time. Justin Welsh, yeah, he's the man. So if you go down to his content, you see what I'm talking about. There's mostly, and if you notice what I was talking about that's why I said you can't really copy Justin Welsh's formula. You can't copy Justin Welsh's formula, because he's so grown right now. He's at almost a million followings. And you see his featured section I told you of. This is his newsletter, and his newsletter is where he makes most of his sales. Like, he makes 10 million every year from LinkedIn, from his business, from this particular business that I know of. And where he converts the sales is mostly always in emails and the newsletter. Yeah, so and this is for the 97% of the market we were talking about. And so let's go into here. It's loading. Okay, so if you check a couple of his content, he will give the value. Then he's going to give the value, there's so much value, and he's going to send a link in the post, right? And you click this link now, depending on what the post is about. So he has short essay for people stepping off of the different path to build a life they love, to support their work. So they're like, join here, and you click the link right here. It's a nurturing system he's into right now. His sales machine is very different, and all I'm trying to say, okay, to his newsletter, yeah, you're going to be subscribed right now to his newsletter, which he has like 6,000 subscribers right now. So all I'm trying to say is that, and if you notice content from Justin Welsh, and even if he sends you a link in his post, he's not telling you to buy something. It's 10% of the time he's going to tell you to, because I think he's a partner. He has a partnership with Stan Store, so he kind of promotes that a bit, the Stan Store. So it's only 10% of the time that you see him sell or talk about his business and say, buy here or something like that. But 80% of the time, he will not just nurture in his content, then he will send a link that will also get you to subscribe to something that you would still be nurtured, right? So, and that's what I was trying to talk about over here, that why you do that is that you want to build trust. People don't trust you. Like when you come in, they don't trust you. So why you create those contents 80% of the time is to build trust with your audience and to be known as the niche guy for this. And so when you're promoting these other parts, right? Let me take this off for now. So that when you promote like these other contents that's meant for conversion right here, it's not gonna feel off. Like you've built this much value already, and so when they see conversion, they don't even think about it. Those that are in need of it, they know you already. They've been seeing your content. They just go for it. So the essence of creating all this type of content is to be the niche guy. You're known in the niche, right? And so what I'm trying to say is that 10% of the time you create transformational content to get attention, because you need to get attention first. Like you need to grab attention. People don't know you, so you need to make bold statements so they know you, like something that is ray from their feet, so they get to notice you. Like that, who's that guy, who's that? So they get to notice you. And then after that, once you've gotten people's, and I told you that this could be spread into, it couldn't just be followed in a week plan, it could be spread into a 30 days plan, like a month plan. So after you've gotten attention with those series of content, your plan now, your next plan now would be to nurture them, to keep nurturing them on content. And then it will be to convert, which we'll talk about in the next video. So that was the whole part that was cut out from the other part of the videos that didn't record. So from this right now, you're going to continue from where we stopped. Like in the next video is going to be the other videos I made all together. Yeah, enjoy. And then 10% belongs to authority content, and then 10%, I know this is very rough on the screen, I'm going to remove it, and 10% belongs to converting content or conversion content. I would explain the converting part of content later. So I just wanted you to get this clear, that most of the time you're going to be nurturing. Yeah, and it's only 10% of the time you're going to be grabbing attention into the funnel, and 80% of the time you're going to nurture. So let's say you have like, I could say you just bring attention on Mondays and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. If you're someone that creates content like 6 days of the week, Monday to Saturday or Monday to Friday, let me say 5 days of the week. So you create attention grabbing content on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You use those to nurture, those 3 days, to keep nurturing the attention you've grabbed. And then on Friday, you could convert the attention, right? So that's how this thing is more like, you could choose the day, you could spread this up into a month plan. Like, you know, you could create week 1 for attention grabbing content, week 2, week 3 for nurturing content, or a part of week 4 for nurturing content still yet, and half of week 4 for converting content. All I'm trying to say is that 10% of the time you grab attention, 80% of the time you nurture the attention you've grabbed, and then 10% of the time you convert. So it's like 80, 10, 10. Like I literally split the 20. So it's 80, 10, 10. And so let me take this off. The screen is a bit messy. I wanted to get that point across. And so that's it for this type of content. 10% for attention, and then 80% for nurturing, 20% for 10% rather for conversion content. And so I was trying to talk about the type of content that is for this guy, which is transformation type of content, while this guy is kind of a tutorial content where you teach people that are in need. Like for the doctor to come on a video and be like, do you have a knee pain? And this is what you should do when you have a knee pain. This is how you could take care of that situation. Do you have a head pain? This is how you should sleep in the night when you. So these are contents that nurture them. They get to know you more. They get to trust you more because they get to watch more of your more valuable content from you. And so that's the flywheel. After you've grabbed attention, you nurture, and the content that convert is more of content here. It's more of content that you talk about. You bring up social proof, and then you add a CTA that you want. Maybe click the link to or DM me. Let me think of a conversion type of content that will work for the marketing agency. That type of content could be something like, over the past 30 days, I just generated 200K or an amount for Doris, an e-commerce platform. Or let's say for the doctor right now, it could be something like, after his grab attention, nurtured with, if you have a knee pain, what you could do. If you have a head pain, how could you sleep, or what could you do about that? Let me say for the doctor right now, a content that will convert for him, or conversion content for him would be like, it would be like a transformation content that leads to a CTA, right? That leads to a CTA that has to do with something like, call this number, or let me set a content for that kind of system, for that kind of niche rather. It would be something like, in the last 20 days or 14 days, I was able to prescribe or heal 29 people with knee pains, right? And then he talked about a little bit of the framework he followed and what he did a bit. And then he leads or sits here. If you're having a knee pain right now, DM me with these words. Let's get to talk, and of how you could get yours healed, or what you could do. So that's how a conversion kind of content would be like. Just like for us, that content we posted about how I book 10 meetings per month, that was a conversion content. Let me try to read through that content so you understand what I'm saying more. Lord. Alright, here's the content. It's loading up a bit. So if you notice this is the type of content I was telling you about. So this is a conversion content, right? A transformational content is more of a content that shows how you move from a point to another. And a content that nurture is a type of content that teach, right? It calls out problem and teach them. While on the other end, a conversion type of content is a content that shows what you're doing or shows transformation, but then you have a CTA to it. So now let me read through the content so you understand the framework behind it. How I book 10 meetings per month from LinkedIn through content plus design. Okay, this is the storytelling part of things, because when people see this, they're like, it's more like a life without stress and service. No, it wasn't that way. We literally struggled for 3 months before we could get the LinkedIn thing working. I start by saying it took me 3 months of tears, failure, brokenness, consistency, and trial. And before I could get to this point of booking meetings consistently from LinkedIn. So here's the process. Then you educate. So after you've done a storytelling, you educate here. This is the education part of things. They're giving point up onto this place. This is like inside of it, you kind of nurture, right? Because you're about to get people to take an action, literally. That's the thing about conversion type of content. You're trying to make people take an action, so you can't just come off and like hey, I've booked 10 meetings here on LinkedIn. Click a link here to work with me. No, that's wrong. Before you can make people take an action, I just want you to know this 101 on sales and marketing. Before you could, on sales literally, if before you can get people to take an action, you need to provide value, right? You can't come up and like, you know, it's the Gary Vee principle of give before you take. You can't take or you can't ask if you've not given. And so that's the principle that the conversion type of content follows. So, and that's why after writing out the headline right here, we gave all this all the way all through here was value. Like more than half of the content, I would say more than half of the content over here, right here. More than half of the content was literally value. And so then after that, we move into the part, because this was the period we were running a 3 weeks free LinkedIn program for founders. So I created a 3 weeks free program for, and if you notice, when you're asking for them to go on the link, you don't just say click a link here to work with me. You still need to say it in a value driven way. Why should I click a link here to work with you? So you need to talk about the value they'll also get. So I created a 3 week free program, free LinkedIn program for content-led founders and small business owners. It started officially last week. 4 founders are already in. This was around 1 month ago. So, and in the 3 weeks, this is what you get. This is what you get, the value you get in the free program. And then if you want to DM me, like we got like 10 people from this very content. We got 8 from the content, but when we message people, because we also send this post to people in the DM, we send them like, you know how you could send a post to somebody. So we like sent it to like, I think a couple of 5 people as at the time that we were having conversations with, and it just dropped off a bit. So we sent a post to them, and we got like 2 people from there, but roughly from this content here, we got like 8 people that message us in we got like 8 people that message us with this words here, and then they joined the free program. So I was trying to explain the fact that conversion kind of content is a content that it's this type of content, if you notice, combines these two. This type of content is the only difference here is that this one has a CTA, right? A CTA that's making people take an action towards like a business objective or a business goal. So conversion content is showing how you moved from somewhere to, it's like it has to do with niche transformation too. Niche transformation, niche T, plus a tutorial, like teaching people how the process, right? And then after you've completed this two, that's where you serve the steak and lead them to where you want them to go to. And so that, I hope I have like pretty been able to cover this all together. So first off, you know, this is the whole content flywheel. You need to create content that grab people. You know, people are literally scrolling on LinkedIn. Like when I pick my feed, my phone, there's so much. So I'm just literally scrolling. I'm just scrolling, and I need to see something really, really good that literally stops me, and I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, yo, that saves me, that's valuable. Yo, let me take a look at that, let me see that. And then after that, the next step would be, I won't just immediately buy from the person. The next step would be for me to click follow on the person. The next step would be for me to follow the person. And then when I follow the person, I get nurtured by the person. And because the person has been nurturing me all this while, the person creates like, I see like a conversion type of content from the person. If it's something that I've literally been looking, like just like the doctor is here to help people that are sick, if it's something that I'm really bothered about and it's something that I'm in deep pain of, and I see the content from someone that I know and I have been nurtured by the person's content, right? I'm definitely going to work with the person at that point in time. And so the thing is, content too has its own will, and the DM part of thing has its own will. And so the best thing is to marry the both of them, because there are times that you also need to pull the trigger further. You don't have to just create content and just wait for it to run. You need to also have conversations with people, and that's where we move into the point of that, okay, let's say that your content is getting traction right now. You're having like, that's why I talked about earlier on in the video that the best metrics to track is profile views, right? But if you're having profile views and you're also having likes and followings, you could also, this is not the best metrics to track, because people are like, how do I know if my content is doing well? They're like checking the likes or checking their following. No, the way you check if your content is doing well is by checking your profile views and knowing that actually you've got your ICPs that are actually viewing your profile. Like, they read your content and they're like, man, who's this? Your ICPs are viewing your profile, right? And so that's the case. But if you have something like likes are, we're not one of those people that support the fact that, you know, people on LinkedIn these days says likes are in cash. That's a lie. That's a lie. Likes are cash. Likes are people, right? So if you've got profile views to track, profile views is what you use to track if you're putting out good content, right? For your ICPs, that's the metrics you use to track your content. But for likes and followings, if you have your ICPs, right? If you still have like your ICPs right here, liking and following you, that's also a good stuff. And then you could turn this off and you could message these people. They're enjoying your stuff just like me. You created something that I'm interested in, and I followed you because it's something that I find it's something that I'm interested in. So, and that's why I click follow. And that's why when you have likes, you have followings, you could, because if I click follow immediately and then the person that the guy that creates the content have a conversation with me, I'll be chatting. And and the person tries to provide value to me one-to-one. Now, not from content, I feel more attached to the person, and I kind of trust the person more. Mostly if the person is not trying to pitch me, right? Because if you come to me and like, hey, I saw you followed me. Are you looking for this? No, nobody's gonna say I'm looking for this. So the best way you do it is if the person follows you, you start having that conversation the way I talked about the DM. That's how you have the conversation with them. That's how you start the conversation off with them. You start by being about them, being curious, and asking the right type of questions, and also providing resources. You could also send them contents that, you know, could be of help to them and stuff. So when you have likes and followings, it's not the best metrics to track, and it's not the best metrics to trace for if your content is doing well. But the best metrics is profile views. But I'm not saying you can't use this. You can use this too. So the way you do this is by having conversations with these people, mostly people that are your ICPs. Just filter through the ones you have that are your ICPs from here, have conversations with them, and follow the DM format we already talked about. That's how we are able to get an average because the time to get to have 15 meetings per month. Sometimes we get to have, there's a month we did 20. That month was crazy. So that's how we get an average of 10 booked meetings with our ICPs. And I said before, we have anywhere from 5 to 7 closed deals from 10 meetings, because we follow this whole process, if you notice, is a process of building trust. That's why we're like, don't pitch. You pitch, you've already become like the 99% of people that are already trying to talk to them. The only reason people don't buy immediately is because they don't trust you. It's because they don't trust you. You know, if it's your brother at home or your sister at home that talk to them about it, they will buy because you're my sister. So, but they like see us trying to get something from you, or trying to get money from me, and that's why this whole process is to build trust. So build trust by content, nurture them in the DMs, be of value. So in content, how you build trust is by nurturing them with educational content, and in the DMs is by being of value. This one is not, in content is like one to many. You nurture them like with your expertise, with what you know. But in the DMs is more like providing value to them one to one. So hey, okay, I'm thinking of tweaking my content. So what do you think about it? You provide a resource, probably you created about that, or for the marketing agency. So if I have issues writing my headline for my art or for my copy, or you provide a resource you've created about that, and you send that off, and then you keep having conversations, and until you get to that audience we talked about earlier on, and then they clearly say, yo, this is something I'm really struggling with. That's when you're like, you set the call and be like, hey, let's meet. You suggest a call. I'm like, do you mind a 15 minutes brainstorm? I could share a couple of ideas that have worked for us and for our clients. And so that's how you get them to call. So for content, you spend your time nurturing, and for the DMs, you spend your time being of value and talking about them. And that's it. And that's how, the essence of this video was to show you why you're probably not getting leads. So the reason you're probably not getting leads, right, from LinkedIn could be as a result that your profile isn't optimized. And that's why because I'm someone that I don't just like to call out the problem. If I gave my drawing, I don't like to just call out the problem. That's why I didn't just say, okay, you're not getting leads from LinkedIn probably because your profile is not optimized, then I move to the next one. I like when I tell you the problem, I show you, I explain how you could do it. And so why you're probably not getting any leads from LinkedIn is because your profile is not optimized, and you're probably not creating the right type of content, because content too has framework and structure. And also, you're probably not having DMs. You're probably not having conversations with people, because you're like thinking, okay, I'll just sit here and create content and they'll come. No, these two come together. And that's why I talked about the fact that if you have these, you need to have conversations with them, because it's not that you just depend on this system to get you leads. Mostly when you're starting off, people are barely knowing you, right? You need to now have conversation. At times you need to have conversations with the profile views you're getting. You connect with them, connect with your likes, and start having conversations with them. Because there's something when you're in their face. When it's content and they don't really know you, you're not that big in the space, people find it hard to like trust you and stuff. Like it's like one too many, and they don't really know you, so you're literally in a big market and your content is just falling into like a big market. But when you're on their inbox, and that's why they have a lot of people on their inbox, and that's why you have to be different. When you're on their inbox, you've grabbed their attention, because now you're now messaging them one to one. And so that's what I'm trying to talk about here. You're probably not getting leads on LinkedIn because your profile's not optimized, you're not creating the right type of content, or you're not having the DMs. And keep in mind that all these three needs to be in place. Like it's a circle. Let me see if I could draw a circle. Terrible, very terrible. I could use a circle to explain this. I could use a circle to explain this flywheel. I could also use a triangle to explain this flywheel too. Right? It is like a three-way circle that has like the top funnel is your profile, right? The top funnel of these. The top funnel is your profile. So you have profile here. You have content, because then you need to create content to build trust, that let them know that you're on the space. And also you have the DMs here at the bottom side of things, and it goes for the same here. You have the same profile, whatever you like to use it to represent. And then you have same contents here, you have the DM. So that's literally the flywheel. And so that's it for this video, and the reason why probably you're not getting any leads from LinkedIn right here. And I hope I was able to explain why you're probably not getting any leads from LinkedIn, and I hope you forgive my drawing. And But if you have any other questions you might want to ask or something I didn't cover, you could always message Joy Baji on LinkedIn, and we're ready to help you with any questions, anything you might have in mind. And that's it for this episode. And until another one, stay blessed, stay peaceful.